What's going on, Colts Nation? Welcome back to another episode of Bring the Juice. So today, guys, I wanted to kind of talk about 5 Indianapolis Colt players who will be better from season 2021 to season of 2022. Now, I'll be honest, I kind of had a little bit of a difficult time putting together some of the names on this list because I think there are a couple of guys here that I didn't put on this list because I only put 5. Okay. I only put 5 different guys on this list. So I think there's a couple of them that I could have put on here, but I didn't. So again, don't get mad if I didn't put a specific player in here. Maybe at the end, maybe I'll do an honorable mention thing or something like that. But I wanted to kind of talk about some of the players here who I thought are going to be better in 2022. Okay. So I'm just going to name them or name one at a time. Again, this is not in any particular order. These are just guys that I just randomly threw out here. So number one I was thinking about is Kari Willis, who is our strong safety at the moment. Last season, really kind of struggled last season, mainly due to some of the injuries that he sustained over the span of the over throughout the season. And we know that was kind of bothering him late, but when it came to his overall play, was not quite the same player that he was in 2020. We saw great strides from his 2019 season to his 2020 season. He was one of the most efficient tackling safeties in all of the NFL. And sure enough, this last year just, wasn't a very good safety, both in coverage and tackling the ball carrier. Really didn't do a great job there. But I feel like now with hopefully with him, if he is going to remain healthy throughout the year and with this potential to see more 3 safety looks, I think that the Colts are going to see a better version of Kari Willis because they can now put him in different situations that best fits his playing style versus what they've been seeing through the cover 2 safety look that we sometimes see from him back there. So maybe now we'll see a different version of Kari Willis than what we previously saw with being either sticking man-to-man or playing back. But now we'll maybe see more of an aggressive Kari Willis, which feeds into his mentality a little bit more. So I'm hoping Kari Willis takes that next step further up. Another one that I mentioned, and by the way, most of these guys are defensive players, by the way, and that's Bobby Okerake. Okay, now I have Bobby here because he's been one of the main standouts when it comes to OTAs so far, and the Colts are anticipating him taking that next step. Because this is going to be year 3 for him, so it's time to see what or going to be year 4 now. So hopefully we see that next step than what we've been currently seeing. We've seen Bobby, be really good as a rookie. Then, kind of made some steps in 2020. 2021 felt like he didn't really get a lot going. He seemed like he was doing really well with being a tackler. He seemed to be taking on that role a little better. But we kind of always assumed that Bobby was going to be taking more of a role in the passing game. And so far throughout this offseason, he has done specifically that. So it's been good to see him doing that, taking a few of those steps. You certainly hope that we obviously know what Darius Leonard can do even when he's not healthy. You hope that with Bobby, you could see more from him in a pass coverage scheme. Hopefully now we could see more of that athleticism on standoff that we knew we could get when we drafted him, right? So that's another one. And Kwity Paye, the next 2 are actually the defensive ends that the Colts drafted in 2021. And the first one being Kwity Paye. Now, I mentioned it in a couple other videos previous to this, which guys, we think will stand out. And I think Kwity Paye is going to be one of those guys. And, Kwity Paye, he's getting the benefit of, one, this is going to be his second year in the system. So, normally guys that come on strong in the end of their first year oftentimes go out and do great things in the second year as a player in a system, right? And now, on top of it, you not only have a great defense. You have a good defensive coordinator that you trust. You have a couple different defensive line coaches that you now feel maybe can get you into different schemes and different depth responsibilities, keep you fresher. Hopefully that would be the case. But the other big factor with Kwity Paye is now that he has Yannick Ngakue on the opposite end of him. So I mentioned it, I think, in the previous video where I mentioned that Yannick is the number 2 most important acquisition we've gotten over the last offseason, because what you now allow the defensive linemen to do, knowing you have a very capable edge rusher off the left side, that is what you get now with Yannick Ngakue. And now in 2021, we saw Kwity Paye. Kwity Paye was trying his absolute best, but the problem was Kwity Paye didn't have anyone else off the opposite edge to complement how he was playing, right? Now you have a guy in Yannick Ngakue who not only can get pressure by himself, but now can force quarterbacks to make decisions that could potentially feed Kwity Paye more sacks if Kwity Paye is improving at the rate in which we think he is, right? So Kwity Paye, I look to hopefully see a ginormous jump, from what his rookie season was to what he is now. I mean, he had a phenomenal year. Again, 4 sacks last season, 1 forced fumble. It felt like he had more than 4 sacks by the end of the year. But again, mind you, most of those came at the very end, or actually the only one of those came at the end of the season. So I think that Kwity can really start to do some more now that he's got a competent guy on the other side, taking more of the pressure away. Kwitty's going to probably get a lot more of those one-on-one activities, right? They're not going to try to motion to him as much. So that's going to be a good thing for him, getting a lot more of those one-on-one looks, and he's probably going to be one of the outcasts. And now we talk about the other edge guy that could be going into play here, Daiyo Dangbo. Okay, so we know last season, Daiyo was hurt for the first half of the season and did not really come into play until I think it was week 7 or week 8 of the season last year. And I mean, obviously, this guy is a physical specimen, 6'6", 275 pounds. He's a guy that's big enough that you feel confident in him actually being able to, you actually feel confident in him being able to play both inside and outside with his physical frame and what he can do both inside and outside going against defenders. But ultimately, again, last season was not a full off season for Daiyo. Daiyo did not really get to do much, if anything, during the mini camps, the training camps, things like that going into the season. He didn't get to do a lot of that. What you're going to see now is he actually has a full off season, being fully healthy to be able to do the things he wants to do. This could be the off season that triggers Daiyo Dangbo to see what he actually is capable of doing. Because last season was more of just soaking all of that information in up here. Wasn't able to train his body as much. It was more of trying to get up here. Now he's able to take it in and be able to build from his muscle and what he's able to do now. So look for Daiyo to have a huge impact. I think that might be one of the main reasons why the Colts really haven't dipped into more edge guys at this moment, because I think they're confident in what Daiyo Dangbo is able to do for them. And so the last guy here that I have to mention, and I think it's a very obvious one, and that is Nahim Heinz. Nahim Heinz, we know from a statistical standpoint, from 2022 to 2021, there was a drop off, and you really don't need to see the stats to know that his rushing totals went down tremendously from 2020 to 2021. His usage in the passing game was not as efficient nor as quantifiable as it was before. So you look now for what this offense is now going to attempt to do. You want to try to see Nahim Heinz get the ball a lot more frequently in his hands out in the open field than what we did in previous years. So 2020, that's the kind of Nahim Heinz we want to see. Him coming out of the backfield or even in the slot and making those plays where if you just get him some green grass, this is a guy that can make that home run play at any time because he's so shifty, right? So Nahim Heinz, specifically a player that I think all of Colts Nation really wants to see get involved even more than what he previously was. So this is my list of 5 guys here who I think are going to be better for the Colts in 2020. I mean, again, I could mention a few different names. I think Matt Ryan's going to have a better season than what he did in 2021. Obviously. Do I think that there's some offensive linemen on here that definitely could have better seasons? Absolutely. Do I think Darius Leonard might have a better season? I think he might. If he's actually healthier than what he was when he started the season, I think Darius Leonard can even have a better season. So like I said, there's a couple different names in here that I could mention. I was half tempted to put DeForest Buckner's name in here because, again, from the addition of Yannick Ngakue, and now you're talking about Daiyo Dangbo taking steps. You're talking about Kwity Paye taking steps. Things like that could help take some of that edge away from DeForest Buckner a little bit. So, again, guys, let me know what you think. Who are some guys that should, who are your top 5 guys that should be better for the Colts in 2022 than what they were the previous season? Curious to know your guys' thoughts. Thank you all so much for the continued support. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And as always, guys, go Colts.